This topic is brain serving by enriching thinking skill. When we are talking about our thinking process, at that time, we have to think with our information inside our mind. Uh, but how we can sharpen our thinking process? This is the issue in front of all of us, because we know everything, and how we think deeply on this matter. This is the problem. And on this regards, we have to think about the thinking process in the mind. Thinking is a mental process bestowed upon the information stored in your mind with logical validations and perceptions of the situations, resulting decisions making. This is the main process of thinking. And we have to think with our information inside the mind. That is depend on your intelligence and intelligence of the individual, which is certain duration it's developed. And we can't say that throughout life we can develop our thinking process. And we can that with the help of our exercise of mind, without learning, without keeping information inside the mind, we can't retrieve the information without studying, without creating some things. This is the total mental process. And the mind divided into two parts, you might have known, that is the left brain thinking and right brain thinking. There is two sides of the brain. And we start from the beginning, how the children, if we start our thinking process by giving exercise, by doing some innovative work, by giving some situation, at the time brain work, the structure of brain and the division with the left brain right brain according to the functioning and controlling decision making operations of other part of the body, that the part of the brain that helps. And we have to special type of thinking process that can be done by our, when we are doing some left hand work and right hand work. All these things are coming with the signal from this left brain and right brain thing. The holistic brain that helps to certain types of work. But without thinking, we can't operate all these brain functionings. Even thinking skills are associated with the creative things, and that is evaluative, that is reasoning, that is individual inquiry process, evaluation, synthesis, analysis, everything, the identification, all are depend on your mind structure. That is the process of thinking of your mind. जब जब तक आप आपके माइंड को सेटअप, व्हेन यू आर नॉट एबल टू सेट अप योर माइंड, व्हाट आई एम थिंकिंग, व्हाट आई वांट टू डू, at that time so your functioning of the visual means left brain and right brain both are doing say and whole brain, holistic brain. And at that time so when we are writing something, at that right hand writers, at that time left hand writers and right hand writers, their signals are coming from the brain. And these brains work in the way when we are keeping the
Excuse me,
information inside your mind.
excuse me, sir. Slides are not moving. Slides are not moving. The same slide.
Only once you say Mahapatra sir, for the next slide, we will move the slide. Kindly instruct next.
Yes, yes, yes. I just started, and I have to say the next. This is the identifications and destructions. Both the things are finds in the mind. At that time, if you have three, 10 components with three dimensions, at that times you can think and resolve your problems easily. And when you are thinking deeply, at that time, so deeply thinking means that is holistic thinking, and your creative work, evaluative reasoning, means interact, inquiring, all these things are coming, and there are so many components are working within the peripherals of creating, evaluating, reasonings, and inquiring. When a person wants to think about its past experience, when they wants to a futuristic view, when they wants to change their solve the problems in the present scenario, the thinking process enhance through its exercise of the brain. and we have to think about how to develop our thinking process among ourselves. Next slide, please, madam. Then the things are coming in this mind, but examinings and evidences both are the required for the thinking process. And holistic thinking requires the 10 components of the thinking process. One is that the identified or identification, and examining is the second component. Third component, the starving's method, that is a double. When we are saying that both the things are similar, at that time we have to compare. At the time our brains are working in such a way, and we can think about which one is right and which one is wrong. And this is the thing of problem solving, and it depends on the extractions of the information what is stored in your mind. Then the experimental techniques. So do you experiment to test the validity of your negative thought? Whatever in your mind that is negative thought, it's also come out sometimes and disturbing your thinking process. And sometimes its negative helps as a reinforcement for solving your problems of the what you want to find out the reality. The, for example, if you doing that episodes of panics, you becomes terrified, and you are the died in the heart attack, and you couldn't judge the run whether it is several fights of the stars. This will be helps to the heart of the everything the stronger. Then the thinking process started. At that time you think storage of the Gracie, and these survey methods, define terms, scientific methods, reattributes, cost benefits analysis, all are coming together for the research purpose, for the enhancement of your thinking process. And you can say the thinking order, the thinking process started in this way. First you examine, evaluate, and you examine the evidence in front of her, and you compare both this negative and positive, examine actual evidences. It helps to find out the reality, and you are forced to think about the problem, and it is another way to exploring your thinking process that helps to your memorize all these things in your mind when it is come into the practical level. The next in examinational techniques, do we examine the test of validity or negative thoughts. And the third, this is the sixth one, the survey method asks people questions to find out thoughts, the attitudes, and the realistic. For example, if you believe that public speaking anxiety, abnormalities, and fools, ask several friends if they are felt negatives before they gave a talk. They say, for example, if you want to give some things in front of the public, some speech, at that time you think, and whether I am comfort or able to speak. At that time, your thinking process started in the mind. At all these things are yeah, whether I am doing mistake, whether I am right or wrong. In these things are coming to your mind, and at that time, say you flourish yourself. Your competency develop, and that competency help your thinking process. And when you are thinking about the holistic way, at that times you will find the mistake to what I have done. And the last one is the cost benefit lessons, advantage, disadvantage, or feelings. What I am thinking, what I am doing, is it negative or it is a positive? All these things are should be considered at the times when we are thinking so doing some things, new things. Overall, all this inquiry process, communication, community expression, core are coming in the inquiry, evaluation, and constructions, exploration. This is the core criteria for the highest order of thinking. According to John Dewey, in 1943, he has find out the 4 ways you can develop your thinking process, or that is if you communicate well, or if you inquiry some things, find out the realities, and constructing, giving the new things. And explorations of all these things are coming in this way. That is you are able to develop your thinking process or thinking skills. And next one is when you come to the media use of media, that is information communication technology, it helps the learner, the children and the people's more creative thinking. It facilitates thinking process of the learner. And how media inquiry communicate and constitute explaining the need based inquiry process in your mind. And ICT facilitate your thinking process. And you find out how ICT is doing in your mind. If a child wants to play inside the rooms with the mobile phone, and he is doing some practicing something gaming and like this, at that time the different components of your thinking process in your mind you are working together. One is your divert thinkings, you are converted thinkings, you are overall thinking, holistic thinking. All the theory of thinking in through the media, use of media helps to explore the thinking process of the children. Now we have developmental stage according to Piaget theory, and you find that up to that level developing. And if you want to see your development, cognitive development, at that time you have to find out your means how far it is with certain level your intelligence develop, and your creativity associated with intelligence. At that time when a creative persons must have the intelligence, but a intelligence person can have or cannot have that is the creativity. And creativity explorations of new thinking through thinking process, and visual reality environment analysis of softwares, modern data and proceeding methods, mathematical modern thinking skill. And if we provide our teaching learning process, our educational environment to our young children, to our learners in such a way that is ICT enabled learning process, at that time children learn a lot of things and they are to work how to visualizations of developing representations. Knowledge must be forced to think on and present. These are the based education. Children are unable to think about their problems, and we have to force, we have to create the environment where learner should learn automatically from their inside, not from the outside. You can forcefully you can pressurize someone for learning purpose, for learning, that is the inside learning. And we must have to media create a media give a certain environment that helps to the learner to learn automatically from its inside. Therefore, that is the accessibility of the digital library for these learners. That is music, video, image, graphics, video, data tables, graphs, text. All these things must be available in front of us. Then a learner wants to analyze, synthesize, and find its similarity, dissimilarity, whatever inside that information given in graphical form, given in imaging form, given in video form, force to the learners to develop their thinking process. And we have to provide the environment where they can learn. And one thing is more, we have to provide the environment where they can learn. And one thing is more, we have to see now in our teaching learning process, there are The new education policy has given the freedom learning to be by the according to the learner choice. Technology can help the learner for develop computer based learning, technology influence of the technology, and our education systems needs to certain change. Use of mistake also help the learner to think about why I do my how it mistake has done, and the mistake sometimes helps the learner think about its problem. Why people are saying this is my mistake, and they are forced to think about it. And another should respects our opponents. हमारी this know the readings have to give their answers, and answers should be recognized by the peoples. And if it is a that is a some type of reward, and it helps the learners to develop their thinking skills, and our thinking skills enhance with the help of these peoples by certain thinkings, that is teachings for thinking training. We have to provide some environment by which they can think. Our special thanks to all these scientists, educationists, those who have worked in this area to exploring the thinking skills among the learners. There is a lot of use of critical thinking skills in our teaching learning process, and we have to provide the environment that is we provide some in our curriculum some things that similarity and dissimilarity among the different concepts, and we have to force the learners, the children, you find out which one is better for you, which one is less better than, and that there must be some non-parametric way of evaluation system that will help the learner to find out its own position. So our educational system must have to provide that is distinguish ideas, similarities and dissimilarities, and it gives a force concepts to the and force put to the learner that helps the learner way of developments. Thinking is a natural process in the mind, and if you want to think, then you can create something new.
Patra sir, I think so. Your internet is weak. You can please switch off
That is
your
the
video so that, yeah. Mahapatra
the
sir, I think so. Your internet is erratic
similarity,
there.
the
You may switch
ideas
off.
that
Yes, sir, it's okay. Yeah. And
Yes.
kindly
right.
please keep telling
Sometimes
for change of
technology
the
has
slide
become the
also.
barrier for all of us. It facilitates, and one study that has come in a that is world educational system, we can find out the media and its exploration, how media help developing the thinking skill among the children, and we have to practice with this media platform. One study has in China, and how media for inquiry, the theory building ICT as a media for thinking. At that time, so we can the chart has given since the four dimension we have to find out. It is a study that ICT based studies in not in India, that is China, because China it's somewhere else we find they are developing in this way. And in the way, four components. One is media for inquiry, media for communications, and a media for constructions, media for exploration. In this way, there are four ways and subways within the ways, and they have defined. And within that study, we find out how the percentage are varies amongst these categories, and we find how different data ICT enabled learning environment empowering the thinking process of the learner. And this is the study which find out that when students find some brainstorming, at that times the kinds of pedagogy we have to involve in our teaching learning process, where children can think about it, they can develop their brain through their thinking process. And the use of different practices, that is select of online projects, web queries, RBL, ICT empowering teaching model, select information online and designing one project, evaluating the lesson plan given, and all these practice activities given to the learners enhance the learners thinking process, the thinking creativity. So our curriculum in the school must be reframed according to the use of ICT enabled classroom environment and ICT enabled teaching learning process. These practices will help the learner for developing, for facilitating their thinking process. So we have think about the DSI, that is DSI distinguished distinguished idea. There is a need of a thinking process, and how a idea different from the other idea. The devoted to the subject matter, when we are going to teach something, at that time we have to find out the similarity of what we are teaching and what already existing. And if you are able to difference both the things and force to learner to think about the problem, our brain, our enhancement of our thinking process will help our future buildings. That is DSI, use the distinguished idea, will help the learners for their development. And thinking the ideas, the drawing the boundaries of ideas, of how it differ from the other ideas, distinguish. That is the another way to force the learners to practice the learners for thinking, enhance their thinkings, furnish the synonyms of ideas, and locating the idea with comparison. This is the practice required for enhancement of the thinking process. So DSI among the school going children, among the children of the, and that helps the learner, force to the learner for developing their brain. And our thinking prospects required in our teaching learning process practice, and our teacher, our students, our environment should give some facilitation where we can practice all these things and we can develop ourselves. And this is the main way where we want to be do. And the practice of all these things help us in our teaching learning process. And one study that we have gone through and projected in China, and the next one is media for communication, that is technique, teaching media helps to the learner for developing their thinking skill. Tutoring system, instructional simulations, drill and practice system, tele monitoring, all these four components of teaching media that helps to the learner for their development of thinking process. And then third one is, that is media for consumption. And this is the media that helps to the learner for developing their thinking process, and that thinking process lead the mind's set, or lead the brain of the learners better and better. Without thinking, you can flourish your mind, you can go ahead, you can memorize, you can summarize, you can compare, you can practice, you can draw your attention, draw your information at the right time with the right place. And this system, say AI system, also adopted for this type of thinking. So tele-monitoring, drill and practice also very important in this way, that we have to involve in our curriculum, in our teaching learning process, in our pedagogical issue, in our school environment, that lead to the learner for their future self. This is all about our media and process of thinking and process of mind. All these things are coming together for developing the learners. We have already taken trains area, 10 area where you can practice, we can develop, we can think of her and sharpen our brain and enriching our thinking skill, brain sharpening through thinking skill. This is all about our education system. We need to be explore. We need to be define. We need to reshape our education system in such a way that we can intervene technology in our teaching learning process, push to the learner, think about the problems their own, solving their own problems, find out the solutions. They have, this is the we can say the cooperative learning, the collaborative learning, the individualistic learning, the learning environment that is associated of that makes our education system more valuable with the integrations. And recently, the national education policy also focused or giving emphasis on the education, how it has to be better by the interventions of ICT in teaching learning process. The MOOC has already defines a given opportunity, the best practices of teacher and teaching, and how a learner forced to think about their problems. And this is the brain shaping your brain. Without providing environment, we can assess. We can change our hereditary influence, but we can change our environment. Environment is a potent factor for individual differences. So from the last, teacher are born but not made. But now it is teachers are made through practices, through training, and it is the concept of use the interventions of ICT in teaching learning process. Better teacher can be produced at any, and people can develop their own thinking. We can find out the brain storming with the brain of the individual and studying their brain, the way of their active this action that work is doing. And in this way, we can channelize and find out the future through the interventions of AI. We can find out the future prospects of the learner, future prospects of the brain thinking process of the individual, and that will help shape our future, shape our career, shape our future prediction, and the way we can do. This is a betterment. This is our motto to resolve our futures and give right directions to find and do their work for their own developments. And we lastly we can say that the DSI approach is the best approach by which we can shape the brain, the idea, the total thinking process of the individual, and without giving that opportunity, we can shape the thinking process of the learner. The DSI help the learners to find out its own. This is the small and teeny practices required, imposing how to think forcefully, how to think honestly, how to think freedom with freedom. All these environments should provide the thinkers, and if there is a need of practices through the teachers in the school environment, then it is possible to find out the reshape our education system and reshape our brain of the learners. This is all about the small presentations which I have prepared, and within this small times, and I prepared myself to do some things. In this way, one can ask question, and the DSI model which I have developed, that will be very soon published for the school education system, and we can compare in this way. We can give opportunity to the learner to shape their brain for the futuristic, for the interest of the learner. And this is the practice which required in our education system. And these efforts can be made in each type of schools all over India or abroad. and we can say which one is right and which one I am saying right because I have logic behind it, and you are wrong only for that you have no logic. This is the De Bono theory. You can find out. John De Bono has already given the right and which one is right and which one is wrong. I am right only for that. I have some argument. I know the things. I can give better argument. But you are wrong only for that. You have no argument. You have no logic. You are unable to prove. This is the things on which we can establish our own thinking skill in a betterment way, and that will help us reshape our mind. That is thinking, deliberate thinking required every day for find out the finest solution of the problem in the classroom setting, in the day-to-day life, in our country. This type of practices that skill development enhance power requirements in our teaching learning process. And in Kapil already it says that in 1990, that is educational for tomorrow teachers. The book has written by Kapil in 1990. He has given the idea how to develop the thinking skill among teacher and students. It is not only for the students, it is also how to develop your thinking skill among the teachers. Without the teachers, you can think better than better, because teacher is the mirror of the classrooms, and the activities whatever doing say inside the classrooms that by the teachers that has followed by the students. So students reshape their futures. Students can reshape their thinking process through this use of model, that is DSI model, and this model will help all these learner and all these people, all these teachers for this purpose. And this is all about our assumptions behind a educational system which are required to be reformed. And the government of India, so NEP 2020 implementations, they are doing in this way, giving the freedom to the learner to find out their own best solution in the classroom. So if problems are given, better problems are day-to-day life problems are given by the teachers for development of their thinking skill.